The twin suns were burning high above the red skies of Zarnuk 3, a desert planet where water was more valuable than gold, in the center of the slave market. A small alien girl named Kira crept silently between the metal stalls. Her gray skin was dry and cracked, her eyes wide with fear and thirst. She was only 12 cycles old, skinny and barefoot. Her species, the Yalari, had been conquered by the Garax, a brutal alien race who controlled this part of the galaxy. The Garax hated weakness, and to them, stealing was weakness, a reason for punishment. Kyra's eyes locked on a dripping container behind a stall. It was water clear, cold, and real. Her mouth was so dry that her tongue felt like sandpaper. She reached out slowly, shaking, then grabbed the container and ran. But she was too slow. The alarm rang, and a Garrick guard leapt from behind the stall. His armor clanked as he tackled her to the ground. The water spilled across the dust, vanishing into the sand. Kira screamed. As the guard pulled a long blade from his belt, she stole water. He shouted, "The penalty is loss of limb." People around the market stopped to watch. No one helped. No one ever helped. Justice on Zarnuk 3 was cruel, fast and public. The crowd was silent, as if they had seen this too many times before. Kyra struggled under the guard's heavy weight. Her thin arm was stretched out on a metal slab. She cried, not just from fear, but from the hopelessness. She knew no one would save her. Until someone did. "Stop," said a deep voice, calm but powerful. The Garake guard paused, turning his head to see a tall figure stepping forward from the crowd. He was human, with short dark hair, a scar over one eye, and eyes that seemed to burn with fire. His armor was old and scratched, marked with symbols the Garax didn't recognize. But everyone could see the weapon on his back, a plasma rifle built for war. "This is Garak law," the guard growled. "She broke it. She pays." The human stepped closer. Slowly he didn't raise his weapon, but he didn't need to. His presence alone made the air heavy. "Then I challenge your law," the human said. "In the name of the Accord of Fomalhaut." A whisper moved through the crowd. The Accord was an old peace treaty, one the Garax had broken long ago, but the words still had power, especially when spoken by a Terran soldier. The guard looked unsure. "That accord is dead," he said. "Not to me," said the human. "Let her go." For a moment, it looked like there would be a fight. The guard's hand tightened on his blade. Kira closed her eyes, thinking her time had come. But then the Garak hesitated. A Terran soldier was dangerous, even alone. And there were rumors that the humans had returned. Stronger, more united, more angry. The guard spat on the ground and shoved Kira aside. "Take your water, thief," he growled. "But she'd die without a master." The human knelt beside Kira. She was shaking, too scared to speak. Her eyes searched his face for trickery, but found none. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Kira," she whispered. He nodded. "I'm Commander Rourke," he said. "You're safe now, Kira." He helped her to her feet, wrapping a cloth around her wrist. She had small cuts and bruises, but her arm was safe. She looked up at him like he was a star come to life. "Why did you save me?" she asked. Rourke paused, looking at the watching crowd. Then he leaned down and said, "Because it's time someone did." He turned and walked through the market with Kira beside him. The crowd parted for them, silent and unsure. No one dared stop them. But far above, hidden in the skies, a Garek scout ship watched the scene, transmitting the footage back to the High Command. The humans were not just alive, they were interfering. And this human, this Rourke, had just lit a spark, one that could start a war. The desert wind howled as the two figures moved across the cracked land. Kira limped beside the tall human, her mind racing with questions, but none daring to escape her lips. Commander Rourke was silent, his eyes scanning the horizon, every step careful, every breath calculated. They stopped at a rusted metal gate, hidden behind broken rocks. Rourke pressed his hand against a panel. It blinked red, then green. A hiss followed as the gate opened, revealing a dark tunnel that led underground. Inside, Rourke said quietly. Kira hesitated. Where are we going? Somewhere safe, he replied. Safer than up here. The tunnel descended sharply, lit by dim lights that buzzed with age. The air was cooler but thick with the scent of oil and dust. At the bottom was a chamber old human tech, half destroyed. Half alive, it looked like a forgotten bunker from the first contact wars. Sit, Rourke told her, handing her a small metal bottle. Water, real, not poison. Kira drank it fast, her throat burning as it swallowed hope along with it. Her eyes scanned the room. Are you a soldier? She asked. I was, he said, removing his armor piece by piece, revealing faded tattoos on his arm symbols from Earth. Battle units, fallen comrades. But you still fight, Kira said. I fight for something different now, Rourke answered, and maybe for someone. She frowned, confused, but before she could ask more, Rourke walked to a nearby console and pulled out a scanner. He pointed it gently at her wrist, and the screen lit up, flashing strange red codes. His face darkened. What is that? Kira asked. Am I sick? No, he said. You're rare. She blinked. What does that mean? Rourke looked straight into her eyes, his voice suddenly heavier. Kira, your blood carries something they thought was lost. Something the humans buried decades ago. Project Helix. She shook her head. I don't understand. He turned the screen toward her, showing a diagram of her DNA, glowing and pulsing, marked with Terran signatures. You're not just Yulari, he said. You have human gene codes inside. You spliced in a lab, likely before you were born. Her mouth dropped open. That's not possible. It is, he said. The galaxies don't just conquer, they experiment. You're living proof. Kira backed away from him, her hands trembling. Am I a weapon? Maybe, Rourke said. Or maybe you're the key to ending this war. Suddenly, the lights in the bunker flickered. A loud beep echoed from the wall. Rourke jumped to the console, his eyes narrowing. They found us, he said. Galaxies are scanning this sector. We have to move now. Kira's heart pounded. Where? To someone who can help, Rourke answered, pulling out a chip from the machine and stuffing it into his belt. A human scientist, one of the last. He'll know what's inside you and why they're hunting you. Kira nodded, still shaking. Why did you save me? She asked again, her voice small. Rourke stared at her, this time not as a soldier, but as a man who had lost too much. Because you're not a mistake, he said. You're a message. Someone made you for a reason. I need to find out why. Above them, Garek ships began circling the sky, scanning for heat signatures, and in the shadows of the stars, a darker presence stirred, someone who had waited for years to find Kira, someone who knew exactly what was inside her, and they were ready to kill for it. The skies above Zarnuk 3 boiled with dust and warships, but far below, deep beneath the crust of a forgotten dead city, something ancient began to wake. Commander Rourke guided Kira through the dark tunnels of the underground rail system. The tracks had not been used in decades, but the human knew the path by heart. Every few minutes, he stopped to check the scanner, making sure no Garrick drones were close behind. Kira followed in silence, her mind still burning with the truth. Her blood was not just alien, it was human too, and now, someone wanted that blood badly enough to kill. How far is this scientist? She finally asked, her voice echoing softly. In the tunnel, close, Rourke said. But we'll need to cross the broken sector first. That place isn't just abandoned, it's cursed. Cursed? Kira repeated. It's what people say, Rourke answered. They don't know the truth. The Garax tried to erase it, but some of us remember. The city was once human, a research hub. Then one day, it just stopped. They reached an old lift, its doors dented and rusty. Rourke forced it open and helped Kira inside. The lift groaned as it dropped, shaking with every floor it passed. Finally, it stopped with a jolt. The doors opened to a world of ashen glass. They had arrived in the dead city of Veridan Core. Tall, skeletal buildings loomed overhead, twisted by heat and weapons long forgotten. Cars were frozen mid-crash, doors left open, screens still glowing with static. The air was heavy, like it remembered pain. Kyra stepped carefully beside Rourke. Did people live here? She asked. Millions, he said quietly. Before the galaxies tested their first dark matter weapon, no survivors, not even bones, just shadows on walls. A cold chill ran down her back. They entered a building half buried in rubble. Rourke touched a panel on the wall, whispering a code under his breath. A hidden door opened, revealing stairs that spiraled downward as they walked. The lights turned on one by one, still working after all these years. At the bottom was a sealed lab. Ancient but still alive. The door opened with a hiss, and inside stood an old man with silver eyes and shaking hands. He wore a cracked lab coat and a breathing mask. "You're late," he said, his voice raspy but sharp. "And you're still alive," Rourke replied, smirking. "I'm too stubborn to die," the old man said. Then looked at Kira. His eyes narrowed, scanning her face with deep interest. "This is her?" Rourke nodded. "Kira, meet Dr. Elian Voss, last geneticist of the Helix program." Dr. Voss stepped forward, pulling out a glowing scanner and waving it across Kyra's chest and arms. The machine beeped in strange rhythms, then blinked red and gold. "Incredible," he whispered. "It's true, she's carrying the Helix core." Kira looked between them. "What is that? What is this Helix thing everyone keeps talking about?" Dr. Voss leaned against a table. Project Helix was a secret program created during the final years of the human-Garak War. We wanted to design a being who could adapt, learn, and survive anything. A perfect hybrid, part human, part something. "Stronger, you mean a weapon," Kira said, her voice flat. Voss nodded slowly. "That was the plan, but it failed, or so we thought." He turned to Rourke. "If she's alive, that means one of the prototype embryos must have been taken, probably stolen when the Garax raided the Helix facility. They must have used her species to hide it. They never knew what they had." Kyra felt cold. "So I was never real? Just a test?" Rourke stepped forward, kneeling in front of her. "You are real, Kira, more than most. You're the last spark of a dream we thought we lost." Suddenly, an alarm blared through the lab. The wall shook, and dust fell from the ceiling. Dr. Voss looked at the monitor, his eyes widening. "They found us." "How many?" Rourke asked, already pulling his weapon free. "Not how many," Voss said. "Who?" The screen showed a tall Garak commander in black armor, standing in the ruins above. Behind him were Shadow Unit's elite assassins, faster and deadlier than normal soldiers. And their leader wore a symbol Rourke had not seen in 20 years. The crest of the Garak Bloodborne, the same unit that wiped out his homeworld. "They're not here to capture her," Rourke said, loading his rifle. "They're here to erase her." Dr. Voss tapped a hidden panel on the wall, revealing a second exit. "You two go. I'll hold them back." "No," Rourke growled. "We leave together." But the old scientist was already locking the inner door. "Protect the girl," he said. "She's humanity's last hope." And as the lab exploded in fire behind them, Kyra and Rourke disappeared into the tunnels again. But something inside her had changed. Her heart beat faster, her mind clearer, and somewhere deep in her blood, something was waking up, something powerful. Asterisk. The stars above Zarnuk 3 were not peaceful anymore. Dozens of Garak warships circled the sky like vultures, waiting for a single signal. A trace of movement, a pulse of heat, anything to find the girl who should not exist. Kira and Rourke moved quickly through the emergency tunnels, the floor shaking under their feet. Dr. Voss had stayed behind, sacrificing himself to give them just a few more minutes. But even as explosions echoed behind them, Kyra's mind was somewhere else. Her chest burned, not with fear, but with something. "Alive, Commander," she said suddenly. "Something's happening to me." Rourke glanced back. "Where does it hurt?" She pressed a hand to her heart. "It doesn't hurt. It feels like light. Like something is growing inside me. Rourke stopped at the next door, forcing it open with his blade. That's the Helix core waking up, he said. You're starting to change. It means we're almost out of time. They emerged into an old hangar buried under sand and rubble. Inside stood a small spacecraft, dusty, patched together, but still alive. Rourke ran to it and began the launch sequence, wires sparking around his boots. Kira stared at her hands, and for a moment, she could see her veins glowing faintly with golden light. What if I can't control it? She whispered. You will, Rourke said. Or you'll burn out trying. The ship roared to life, and the roof above cracked open, revealing the blood-red sky as they rose through the dust. 2 Garake ships locked onto them, firing plasma bolts through the clouds. Hold on, Rourke shouted, taking the controls. The ship dodged hard to the left, flames licking its sides. One shot hit the wing, and the alarm screamed. Kira gripped the edge of her seat, panic rising in her chest. We're not going to make it. Yes, we are, Rourke said, pulling a lever. The ship dived straight toward a rocky canyon, hiding in the shadows of the dead mountains. He opened a secret comlink. Base Echo 9, this is Rourke. Requesting emergency jump gate. Static answered, then Echo 9 confirmed. Gate active. Get her out. Behind them, a wormhole began to open, swirling with silver-blue energy. The ship flew faster, but the Garruk shadow units were right behind them now, closer than ever. Then Kira screamed. Her body lit up like lightning, and a wave of energy burst out from her hands. It surged through the walls of the ship, through the sky itself, and slammed into the Garruk ships like a solar storm. Both enemy ships lost control, spinning wildly before crashing into the mountains in a fiery blaze. The inside of the ship went silent. Rourke stared at her, not with fear but awe. You just saved us, he said. Do you realize what you did? Kira looked down at her hands, still glowing. I didn't mean to, but you did, he said. And that means it's beginning. They shot into the wormhole, leaving the cursed planet behind, stars stretching like liquid light around them. As the ship entered safe space, Rourke finally breathed. We're heading to the Ark, he said. The last human station in the Veil system. What's there? Kira asked, her voice shaking. Others like me, Rourke said. But more importantly, others who are afraid of what you are becoming. She didn't answer. In her mind, she saw flashes she couldn't explain, dark towers, strange symbols, voices in languages she never learned, and a shadow, always watching her from behind her thoughts. Commander, she said, what if this thing inside me isn't meant to save people? Rourke didn't speak for a long moment. Then quietly he said, then we'll make it mean something. But far behind them, in the ruins of Veridon Core, something stirred in the ash. The black-armored Garruk commander stood on a mountain of fire, his helmet cracked, eyes burning with hate, and in his hand, he held a piece of Kira's blood-soaked hair. Still glowing with golden light, he smiled. The Ark drifted in orbit above a dying star, a city of metal and memories. Once the heart of human resistance, now it was a shadow of its former glory. Broken towers, scorched hulls, and flickering shields wrapped the station like old bandages. Inside, only a few thousand humans remained. Warriors, survivors, ghosts. As Rourke's ship docked, sirens echoed through the outer bays. The scanners had picked up her DNA, and the station had gone on alert before she even stepped off. The ship, why are they scanning me? Kira asked, her voice tight with nerves. Rourke glanced at the red lights flashing above. Because they're afraid. Afraid of me? No, he said. Afraid of what you might become. They stepped onto the landing deck, were armored. Guards were already waiting. Their rifles weren't aimed at Rourke. They were aimed at her. A tall woman in a long black coat stepped forward, her face pale and sharp. Her name was Admiral Sarenvale, leader of the Ark, and Rourke's former commander. You brought it here, she said coldly. She has a name. Rourke replied, stepping in front of Kira. Names don't matter if she's a threat, Vale snapped. The Helix Project. was shut down for a reason. You saw what she did to those Garrick ships. That wasn't training. That was raw energy, uncontrolled. She's a walking supernova. Kira flinched but stayed silent. Her veins still glowed faintly beneath her skin, hidden under her sleeves. The light hadn't gone away since the escape. I didn't ask for this, she said quietly. But you carry it, Vale replied. And every moment you breathe, you risk setting this whole station on fire. The guards closed in, but Rourke raised his hand. She's the key to ending this war, you know it. That's why you built Helix in the first place. We built it to win, Vale said. But we lost everything instead. She looked at Kira like she was holding a bomb with no timer. Put her in isolation, level 6, no visitors. No, Rourke growled. You're making a mistake. I made a mistake letting you back on board, Vale shot back. Now get out of my way. Kira stepped forward, her voice trembling. But steady. Let me prove I can help. Vale stared at her, then motioned to a nearby soldier. You have 24 hours. After that, if I see even one power surge, she goes out the airlock. Rourke's fists clenched, but he nodded. He had no choice. Kira was led through cold metal halls to a dark chamber deep below the Ark. Inside was nothing but silence and a scanner built into the wall. She sat on the floor, alone, with only her thoughts and the quiet hum of the engines. But something else was there too, in the corner of the room, unseen by cameras. A shadow moved. It wasn't Garrick. It was human, a boy, maybe 16, with a mechanical eye and a stolen keycard. He stepped out of the darkness and grinned. You're the glow girl. Huh, Kira blinked. Who are you? Name's Ty, he said. I live in the vents, the Ark's dirty little secret. Thought I'd meet the girl everyone's scared of. I'm not dangerous, she whispered. He tilted his head. They think you are. You might want to prove them wrong, or right. Before she could reply, the lights flickered, then turned red. An explosion rocked the station, alarms blaring across all sectors. The Ark was under attack, not from outside, but from inside. Rourke's voice echoed over. The comms, security breach, Helix chamber, internal sabotage. Kira's cell door unlocked automatically, but she wasn't sure if it was a system error or something worse. Then, the floor beneath her trembled, and she felt the light again. It rose in her chest like fire, but this time she didn't fight. She stood, breathing deep, and as the walls cracked around her, the room filled with golden light. The Ark was breaking apart, not from alien fire, not from some Garrick superweapon, but from something worse. Betrayal inside the command bridge. Alarms screamed as red lights flashed across every wall. Commander Rourke stood over a shattered console, smoke rising from its circuits. The sabotage wasn't an accident. Someone had hacked the Ark's core systems, someone inside the station. Seal off Reactor Hall 3, he shouted. Evacuate sectors 7 through 9. But it was already too late. Meanwhile, far below, deep in the lowest level, Kira stood alone in the red-lit silence. Her cell was open, but she didn't move her chest burned with heat, the Helix energy inside her rising like a storm she couldn't hold back. From the corner, Ty peeked out again, the teen with the mechanical eye. His voice shook. This wasn't me, I swear. But someone wanted you distracted down here. Kira didn't answer. She was listening, not with her ears, but with her blood. She could feel it, pain, fear. Voices crying above her, lives flickering like candles in a storm. The Ark was dying, and for the first time, she didn't feel afraid. She felt angry. Get behind something, she told Ty. He ducked without asking why. Kira stepped into the hallway. Her eyes glowing gold now, not faint, but bright like twin stars. Her feet lifted slightly from the ground as if gravity had forgotten her. She raised her hand, and the metal doors burst open with a silent pulse. She moved upward, floor by floor, and the station trembled with every step. Rourke saw her on the central monitors, his breath catching. She's doing it, he whispered. Admiral Vale stood behind him, her face pale. She's not walking. She said, "She's rising," on level 12. An explosion tore through the oxygen tanks. Fire raced down the corridor. People screamed. Then the fire froze mid-air. Held by invisible force, Kira stepped through it, calm, untouchable. Light wrapped around the flames like fingers of wind, crushing them, extinguishing them in a breath. She kept walking, but up ahead, near the control chamber, a man stepped out of the smoke. Not a Garrick, not a soldier, but a human dressed in the uniform of Arc Engineering. With black gloves and eyes too cold to be ordinary, he clapped slowly, smiling. Without joy. "You're even more than they said," he said. "The girl with a sun in her chest." Kira paused. "Who are you?" "I'm the one who let the Garracks in," he replied. "They promised peace, but they really wanted you. I promised them the key to ending humanity." Her fists clenched. "You betrayed your own kind." "No," he said, stepping closer. "I evolved past them. You're not human either, are you? You're something better. Join us. Rule with them, not against them." She shook her head slowly. "I'm not here to rule. I'm here to stop you." He reached for a hidden detonator, but it melted in his hand before he could press it. The heat came from her eyes. He screamed and turned to run, but Kira moved faster. She raised her hand, and the corridor folded inward. Walls twisting, gravity shifting. The traitor collapsed, unconscious. Pinned by forces older than physics, the station went quiet. The fires were gone. The air pressure stabilized. Lights flickered back to green. From the main deck, Rourke watched. It all in silence, and Admiral Vale stepped beside him. "She saved us," she said, disbelief in her voice. "She chose us," Rourke replied, "even when we didn't choose her." Hours later, Kira stood at the edge of the observation window, looking out at the stars. Her reflection shimmered in the glass, eyes glowing faintly, her skin warm like light under the surface. Rourke walked up beside her. "You okay?" She nodded slowly. "I didn't burn anyone. I held it back." "You didn't hold it back," he said. "You learned to wield it." Behind them, Admiral Vale watched in silence, but said nothing, for now the girl who bled light had saved them. But in the far reaches of deep space, beyond the Arc sensors, the Garak flagship drifted through the void. Inside, a new weapon was being awakened. It was not made of light, it was made of shadow, and it was built to hunt one target, Kira. In the darkness beyond the stars, the Garak shadow engine awoke. It was not a ship, not a soldier, but something ancient, forbidden, built from stolen minds and buried science. A fusion of alien flesh and black AI. It had no soul, only purpose. And that purpose was Kira, on the Ark. She already knew it was coming. She had seen it in her sleep. A dream of teeth and ash, of a machine that devoured light. Her body still hummed with the golden glow of Helix energy. But deep inside, she felt the limit approaching. Rourke stood beside her in the hangar, his voice calm but tight. "We have one shot." Kira looked at the holomap, the red dot approaching fast. "And if I fail?" He didn't answer, because they both knew what failure meant. The Ark gone, Earth forgotten, humanity erased. "Suit up," he said. But she didn't move. "I'm not going in a ship," he frowned. "What are you saying?" "I can't just run. Not this time," Kira whispered. "This thing. It was made for me, but I was made to stop it. Kira, if you go out there alone—" "I won't be alone," she said, touching her chest. "I have this light, this gift. Maybe it was never meant to be a weapon. Maybe it was a message." Rourke stared at her, a child once broken, now burning like a star. "You don't have to prove anything to them," he said quietly. "I'm not proving anything," she said. "I'm choosing." She walked toward the airlock, no armor, no weapons, just her heartbeat. As the gate opened, space welcomed her, cold and silent. But Kira wasn't afraid. She floated forward, hands open, her golden glow brighter now, a living comet against the void. Then it arrived, the shadow engine, blacker than the vacuum, its surface rippling with stolen code and twisted biology. Its voice entered her mind without sound. "You are light," it said. "We are the end of light." Kira didn't respond. With words, she responded with fire. The glow from her chest exploded outward, golden strands wrapping around her like armor made from the sun. She raised her hands, and the energy surged forward like a wave of truth, slamming into the engine. But it didn't fall, it adapted. Tentacles of void reached toward her, pulling at her energy, draining it. And she screamed, not from pain, but from the weight of power, of history, of the choice. And then, something happened. She let go, not of the power, but of the fear. She stopped trying to control the light. She became it. From the arc, every sensor exploded with white readings. Rourke ran to the main screen, watching. In awe, the void was shrinking, like paper set on fire from the center. "She's doing it," he whispered. Vale stood beside him, speechless. "She's not doing it." He corrected himself. "She is it." The shadow engine screamed in silence, folding in on itself, its code unraveled, its stolen thoughts erased. Bit by bit, it faded, until nothing remained but a ripple in the stars. And then silence. No one spoke for a long time. "Is she gone?" Someone asked, but Rourke only smiled through tears. "No," he said. "She's everywhere now." In the years that followed, humanity rebuilt, not because they had better weapons, but because they remembered her, the girl who burned bright enough to stop the dark. They called her many things: weapon, savior, Lightburn. But Rourke always called her by one name: Kira.